Alright, we're getting ready to get the stream started. Oh, alright, this is good. This is the first time I've actually started with 2 people. It's all good. Yeah, it's been a hot minute, you know? I haven't done this in, 4 weeks, I believe. So, we have a lot to talk about today. Let's just throw ourselves into this. I'm working on a bit of a shortened schedule, not too much though, so we're gonna go over as much as we can. This says past weekend review. It's been about 4 weekends since I've last been here. Now, I'm not gonna cover arena shows from those weeks because they're just not big enough events for me to spend that much time on them. However, we are going to review Detroit, not to the point by point, but we're gonna talk about Detroit at least to where I've talked about it, because really I've based on the fact that I didn't do any episode for it, ignored it. So it was March 11th and 12th. Again, I'm not going to go over every single different points standings thing that went down there. However, I'm just gonna basically say I don't think at this point anyone has not seen Detroit Show 1, because it was quite massive. But if you haven't, just do. Just leave and watch it. Really, there's no reason not to. It was insane. I mean, I can't even talk about all of it because it was just back to back to back to back everything. Every single run, like half of the runs had a save in it that was really outstanding. A few of them had a big air. I know Mike Christensen, I believe, and Josh Mowry both landed backflips. So it was just all around a good time in Detroit. I wasn't there, but if you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend that you guys go and check that out. That being said, there were 5 different stops this past weekend, so we're gonna go over everything that we can on those. I'm gonna save Tucson for last for the arena since that's closest to me. So let's kick these off with Columbus, Ohio here. So this is Arena Series Central. If you don't know what the tour is, it's posted on Monster Jam's stuff. Wait, is it? This is what I say this every single time. I get Arena Series Central and East mixed up. This is Arena Series East, I'm sorry. So, Arena Series East was in Columbus, Ohio. Again, if you don't know the tour, it's on Monster Jam's website. There were 3 events. Since it's an arena, we're just gonna go over everything faster. Event number 1 was a full event sweep for Weston Anderson. Event 2 saw racing, not Elvis Linus. Armando Castro got the win in racing. Skills challenge went to Bernard Light. The donut not really challenge. The donut competition went to Lindsey Reed, and the freestyle competition went to Dalton Widener. And in the end, Dalton Widener got the overall with 26 points. It's been a while, at least since the last time I checked, since Dalton Widener got an overall, so that's great to see. And then if we look over on the last show, Sunday, we saw Tristan England. No. I'm so sorry. I'm so not used to doing this. Okay, sorry. Hunter Souza got the racing win, not Tristan England. I'm so tired. I just see a truck name and I associate it with the driver, and it's not very in this episode oftentimes been the same driver that it should be. My apologies. Sorry. Hunter Souza got the racing win Sunday. And then Weston Anderson got the skills challenge win. Lindsey Reed got the donut win again. And Weston Anderson got the freestyle win. So Weston Anderson gets the overall, ending with 30 points. Weston, yeah, I agree. Weston is very good. I have seen him once before. I really like. He was a great driver. I mean, he's definitely not ready to be on a stadium tour. I'm not gonna say that. He has a little bit of work to do. I have no problem with putting him in stadiums postseason because, I mean, he put on a pretty good show. But as far as throttle rhythm and stuff like that goes, he definitely needs to work on it. He needs to lay off more because he didn't. And, I mean, it happened not only at Glendale last year, but it also happened in, it's right on the tip of my tongue. Salinas, it also happened to him in Salinas. Both times he was in a bigger field like that, he crashed because he just wasn't laying off enough. And then at the World Finals, he also ended up crashing because he put too much gas into it. That's really the only thing that I say hinders Weston's driving. But as far as arenas goes, he's insane. I saw videos from him at that show, and he did pull off a backflip to moonwalk and some other crazy bigger stuff. Monster Jam started doing stock cars for a diecast 3 months ago, I think. I don't know. It's hard to say exactly when. Moving on to North Charleston. This is Arena Series Central this time. See, can't get them mixed up twice in one stream here. So, we're gonna start Saturday afternoon, where racing and skills both go to Brandon Vincent and Gravedigger. However, donuts and freestyle both go to John Zimmer Jr. in terminal velocity. And the end, John Zimmer Jr. would also be able to pull out the overall win with 29 points. Saturday night, we would see the racing win go to John Zimmer Jr. Then Brandon Vincent would get the skills win. Then John Zimmer Jr. would come back again to win donuts. Then Brandon Vincent would end up getting the freestyle win. Now, it would be a tie in overall points between Brandon Vincent and John Zimmer Jr. However, the win would be given to Brandon Vincent because Feld likes Feld drivers more. That's just how it works. Moving over to the Sunday show, the final show for North Charleston, we would see John Zimmer. Sorry. I did it again. I see a truck and I give it a try. Sorry. Cody Saucier got the racing win. Then the skills win goes to Brandon Vincent. The donut win gives to John Zimmer Jr. And the freestyle win goes to Brandon Vincent. So, the overall event would go to Brandon Vincent, but John Zimmer Jr. was pretty close again. Now, Cody Saucier didn't have the most outstanding of weekends, which is disappointing, but, I mean, he always puts on a great show. I wouldn't really say that, he did bad. He just wasn't up to par with the rest of the drivers in the field. Then we have South Haven, which was not an arena series. It was Stadium to a Red for a non-points event. They've been doing pretty good in arenas. We're just going to give this a quick rundown because there were 4 shows here. So I'm just going to go and say the overall. Saturday afternoon, show 1, the overall event goes to Caleb Blood. Saturday night, show 2, the overall event goes to Adam Anderson. Sunday afternoon, event 3, the overall goes to Caleb Blood. And Sunday night, event 4 goes to Adam Anderson. So 2 overalls to Caleb Blood, 2 overalls to Adam Anderson. This was definitely a weekend that Caleb Blood had been wanting. Then we move into the show that was relatively local to me, but I wasn't there because it's also pretty far. Again, this is a 4-show weekend, so I'm just gonna kind of go over the overall points standings here for the overall winners. Now, this was Arena Series West. The only difference is Brandon Arthur drove Megalodon, so that's the only real change for this show. So, Friday, which is show 1, Elvis Linus got the win. Saturday afternoon, Tristan England got the win. Saturday night, Elvis Linus got the win again. And Sunday afternoon, Kristen Anderson got the win. Now, it was kind of an all over the board weekend. I've only really seen much action from one show, and that was the final show where David Olfert got the freestyle win, and he did some pretty cool moves. That was a pretty cool freestyle there. I wish I was there to see it. I wasn't, but Tucson is definitely in my bucket list to go to for future years. Now it's time to get to the stadium event, the one thing that everybody wants to hear about. So, Stadium Tour Blue finally makes its return back to the big fields. They skipped the last weekend for arenas, and before that, well, the couple of weeks before that was also just arenas, but after a good 4 weeks or so, they're back into stadiums, and it was an incredible show for most of these drivers, actually. So we see, I'm not going to obviously give a rundown of the entire tour, because you can find it basically everywhere, but the only one thing is that, obviously, this is a change that happened a while ago. Rather than Mark List and El Toro Loco, because I don't know if they ever changed that from the main page, it is Chelsea Van Cleve. So we're going to start from the semifinals and work our way down. In the semifinals, it would be another matchup between Ryan DeSharoon and Ryan Anderson, but Ryan Anderson would be able to get the win over him, and John Gordon and Bad Company would face off against Chris Kohler in the Monster Mutt, but John Gordon would come out successful, and he would not only come out successful in defeating Chris Kohler, but in the racing finals, John Gordon would end up defeating Ryan Anderson. Moving into the skills challenge, it was a pretty interesting night. I wouldn't say anyone did particularly great. There were a lot of slip-ups, but there were some cool things. So in 5th place was Chelsea Van Cleve and the El Toro Loco, who had this incredible, massive moonshot sky wheelie that went pretty high up, pointed straight up. That would get 5th place with an 8.055. It would cause severe damage to the truck, though, so she didn't return for the rest of the event. In 4th place, Bari Musauer and Zombie ended with an 8.068. He, I believe, went for a donut, which is normal for him. Tyler Menninga got 3rd with an 8.982. He did a moonwalk, and then he brought it into a bicycle for hit number 2. He did his bicycle-to-bicycle combo, but once he got it onto the other side, the truck rolled over, and he could not get the save. So he only really had one successful move, but the bicycle crash was still cool, and it was enough to get him 3rd place. In 2nd place in the skills challenge was Corey Rummel in the Megalodon with a 9.240. He had 2 pretty solid moonwalks that were able to get him a decent score, but your skills challenge winner with a 9.778 was, to no real surprise, Ryan Anderson in the Son of a Digger. His first hit wasn't super... I mean, it was a great move, don't get me wrong, but for Ryan Anderson, it wasn't a very outstanding move. But hit number 2, he got what I would say is his first perfect bicycle to moonwalk of the 2023 season. It was really cool, so that was awesome to see, and Ryan Anderson would get the skills challenge win. Freestyle, things only got a bit more interesting. In 5th place was Joe Foley and Axe with an 8.577. Joe Foley had definitely what I would say his best run of the season was. He had 2 really big sends. I mean, they weren't that big when you look at the other drivers, but compared to his other freestyles from the year, he was able to get 2 really big hits in there, and he also did a wheelie to stoppie combo that ended in a little bit of a save, and he ended off the run by landing the backflip a little bit short, but getting a save and causing a little bit of stadium damage. So overall, that was a really cool freestyle. I think his score was a little bit low, but considering the lack of consistent big air, I wouldn't say it's super unfair to give him that score. In 4th place was Corey Rummel in the Megalodon with an 8.730. He also just had, he and 2nd place, both, which was Bari Musauer Zombie, they both had pretty okay runs. They weren't super good, but they weren't bad. They were just really big air, backflip, big air. That's pretty much, if I'm remembering correctly, what they had there. So Corey Rummel was in 4th, Barry Musauer was in 3rd. In 2nd place was Tyler Menninga in the Gravedigger, who had 2 absolutely massive jumps straight up into the sky. They were really, really cool. He landed them both alright. One of them he cased the ramp, but surprisingly didn't do any damage to the bottom of the truck. That really shocked me. So, he had really big air. I think he did a moonwalk in there. He landed a backflip, got a small backflip to moonwalk combo going. And then he sends it, I believe, off the jammer. The truck landed sideways, and the whole thing became discombobulated. It did a barrel roll, and right when he was on the sidewalls, he went for the save, but lost drive in all 4 tires. So he wasn't able to save it. He ended up sideways on the pod. And your freestyle winner, I'm going to say it right now. If you haven't seen this run from Ryan Anderson in Seattle, leave right now to watch it. That's the only really good thing I could tell you, because I don't even know how to describe this other than you have to actually watch it. Big air, like very, very big air. Lots and lots of momentum. Moonwalk, a little bit of a stoppy save kind of thing. Backflip. And then he ended up by, he lands a backflip, backs it up. The backflip goes sideways on a bit of a cartwheel that he saves. Then he turns it around from there. He goes over to the jammer, sends it, but right before he hits the jammer, his rear steer malfunctions and turns. So he launches it off the jammer. The truck goes completely sideways. It does a quarter twist of a barrel roll. The truck lands straight on the lid, lands on the pod, straight upside down, goes flying through the air, and then he lands on the rear end, just causes more damage, and ends up on all 4 wheels. It was definitely painful. It was very destructive, but I'll say one thing, it was definitely an incredible move. So if you guys have not seen that freestyle from Ryan Anderson in Seattle this past weekend, go on YouTube, whatever, go watch it, because you have to. It's the greatest thing I think you'll ever watch from this season. I mean, don't get me wrong, Detroit had awesome runs, but this run was just consistent. Save, backflip, the backflip had a save with it as well. Insane crash, all the momentum, big air. This was definitely the best run of the season thus far. So go check it out if you haven't seen it already. But that being said, it's about time that we cover the power rankings. Now, I haven't covered these in a few weeks, just because really they haven't been super interesting. Like, there's been changes, but I wouldn't say the changes were that accurate, since a lot of the drivers were in arenas rather than stadiums. But I'm going to go over what we're looking at with the power rankings. In 20th, Travis Mowry in Velociraptor. He dropped down 3 places to end up in this spot. Not too sure why. I don't know what happened, but it's probably just not used to the arenas. He's a lot better in stadiums, especially with freestyle and racing. Arenas he's not as familiar with this year, so he dropped down quite a bit, down to 20th. 19th is Corey Rummel in the Megalodon, who went up 2 places from before. And 18th is another Megalodon. This is Todd LeDuc, who is actually 3 places less. Again, same issue faced by Travis Mowry. He's just not too familiar with the arenas. However, he did have a cool skills run one night in South Haven. And 17th is Cole Vennard in the Black Pearl, which is higher than he was before. And 16th, Dalton Widener in Jurassic Attack is back in the game, 3 places higher than he was prior, so that's awesome. In 15th place is Kayla Blood in the Soldier Fortune, which is also higher than she was before. Obviously, she comes out of a big arena background. Put her back in the arena, she's going to put on a great show. 14th is Kristen Anderson in Gravedigger. She has not moved. 13th is Armando Castro in El Toro Loco, which is 1 less, which is because he ended up switching places with John Zimmer Jr. and Terminal Velocity, who was in 12th. In 11th place is Bryce Kenny and the Great Clips Mohawk Warrior, which is one lower than the previous weekend. In 10th place is Max D with Max D 20th with Tom Mentz, which is also one place lower, which is because in 9th place Barry Musauer has rose by 2 spots in the Zombie. In 8th place is Brandon Vincent and Gravedigger. In 7th place is Elvis Linas and the El Toro Loco. In 6th place is Camden Murphy and the Bakugan Dragonoid. And now it's time to cover the top 5, which is really the big area to look at. So in 5th place is Adam Anderson and Gravedigger, who switched places with Tristan England and Earthshaker. Tristan England is in 4th place. In 3rd place is Weston Anderson and the Gravedigger, who switched places with Ryan Anderson and the Son of a Digger, who was in 2nd place. But still, he's been here for like 8 or 9 weeks. Tyler Menga is at the very top of the power rankings. So he's been able to hold out that lead for quite a long time. I'm looking forward to see how the rest of all the driver seasons go, because it's been pretty cool. I'm going to be seeing Stadium Tour Blue at their next event 2 weekends from now in Glendale, so I'm really looking forward to that. And just a bit of a bonus thing I want to talk about with that is this year Monster Jam is going to be televising Glendale, which they haven't done in like 7 years, with the exception of the 2021 season, which was just because there were no other events. They kind of had to. Usually when there's multiple events in one weekend, they'll not go to Glendale just because, I don't know, I guess they try to avoid televising Glendale. But this year they're actually doing, so Philadelphia and Glendale are the same weekend. This year they're actually going to put both on their TV schedule, so that's interesting. But I mean, I'm not complaining, that's for sure. So the next few weekends are going to have incredible events to come, because we're looking at Syracuse this weekend. That's a stadium event. We're looking at Glendale and Philadelphia in 2 weekends, which is 2 stadium events. In 3 weekends we see Atlanta, which is always a great show. You always want to see what's going on in Atlanta. I believe it's Stadium Tour Red. And then also Reno is going to have Stadium Tour Blue with the reduced lineup, which is also pretty cool, because it's kind of like, it's like a mini stadium. It's a dome like Tacoma. 4 weekends from now, we're going to see Inglewood make its Monster Jam debut, its first ever event, which is going to be Stadium Tour Blue, which is, I have a great feeling about that event coming up. In 5 weeks, we're going to have Foxborough. I don't think there's ever been a bad show in Foxborough. It's always a great time there. The week following that, there's going to be Stadium Tour Blue in Denver and Stadium Tour Red in East Rutherford, which East Rutherford might be the greatest stop every year for Monster Jam. So those are both going to be really good. Actually, the same weekend as Foxborough, there's going to be Salt Lake City. So I'm not going to go over everything postseason. That's not what this series is about. But there's not a single weekend we're looking at in the postseason that's going to disappoint. I mean, obviously there's going to be the dead space between Kansas City. Well, no. This might be the most jam-packed like, off-season. You know, like, between the World Finals and the Point Series end, where there's, like, a big break with no shows. This year, that's not happening. There's going to be a show every other weekend. Unlike in previous years where there's a 4-week break, that's not going to happen later this year. So that's going to be pretty cool as well. Yeah, anywhere that's not in United States is it's international. It doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna be the international tour. As far as I know, that's really just a name that the fans made for it, because it's a similar tour that's at all the events. But like, when you look at things like after the World Finals, obviously that's postseason, so a postseason, it's not gonna count as a tour anymore, because that's when it's just general shows. The the season is only what's World Finals or before, and seasons are for points specifically, so it's about who can get the most points, whereas pretty much all the international events have something different about their lineup. So I wouldn't necessarily say there is an international tour, but using that term that I guess is the way that we've decided to call it, yeah, it's everything outside of the US is a international tour, or it's always going to be called an international event. That being said, I think it's time to move into the next thing, because none of this is about last weekend anymore. We're going to start here. BeamNG, now, right now it's kind of all over the board, but the last couple weeks I haven't gotten a ton done. I've had testing, I've had homework, I've had just trying to take breaks from videos, right? I'm not going to spend every minute of my free time trying to make a video. As much as I like putting out videos, I'm not going to spend all my free time doing it. I have other stuff to do, you know? So I was more or less, the last couple weekends, it's been a mix of lots of schools things and just trying to sit back for a little bit. However, I have gotten some work done on the next BeamNG event, which is going to be, unless I change, Atlanta 2021. So I'm hoping that stays the same. I've gotten quite a bit of work done. If it doesn't come out this weekend, which, to be completely honest, I don't think it will be able to come out basically anytime, if I'm going to be completely honest here. Because I don't like setting dates unless I literally have the video done and it's set as a premiere date. That's the only kind of time that I'm really that confidently able to set out dates. Because if I make a date for a video and I don't end up releasing the video at that date, like, well, then what? You know? So, yeah, I'm not going to say a date on this. If it's not this weekend, though, it's not going to be next weekend either, because next weekend I'm going to a real event, which is in Glendale, obviously. I've talked about that pretty much this entire episode. So, yeah. That's what's going on for future plans, is just Glendale and some BeamNG work. So that being said, let's go into everybody's favorite segment of the episodes, if I can find it. I'm not used to doing this, so I don't know where it is. Here we go. It's the segment that, even though it says wrap-up, ends up being the longest. The wrap-up segment ends up being the longest segment almost every time that there's an audience actually watching live. Isn't that ironic? So, this is basically where I just... Oh, I forgot to do that. This is just a time for questions, general topics, you know. This is where we're not reviewing or talking about upcoming things. This is where we just talk about pretty much whatever. Ideally, it's usually related to monster trucks, but to be honest, it's not always. Sometimes we do talk about other stuff, because this is the fun segment. Now, I usually leave this running for a few minutes to see if I end up getting any messages. If I don't, in those minutes, that's usually when this does actually become a wrap-up segment and I end out the stream. So for now, we're just going to, no, I haven't. It's like way up on the top of my bucket list. In fact, originally the plan was to go this year, but looking at the prices, it was just going to be too expensive to, which is really just tough luck, because we actually, usually we get front row for the Stadium Series. We didn't end up doing that this year. We got different seats because we were going to put money aside for the World Finals, but we didn't even end up doing the World Finals. So right now, though, it's actually running in the works that we might end up going to the Superstar Challenge, which would also be incredible. It's definitely not as big, but it's still an interesting event that I would like to see. Least favorite driver, I don't really have one. However, least favorite monster truck, I don't know what it... I don't know what it's called. I'm trying to find out right now. It's just super... super ugly. Oh, okay. Hang on. I bet it'll be in here. Again, I literally, like, don't know what it's called. It's that super ugly one. That, like, it's just a roll cage. And it's, like, pointy. It's a pointy roll cage. I'm trying to find out what it's called right now. If I can even find it anywhere. I'm like searching for this thing because I need to find it. Oh, you know, I know where I could find this. I think he should have a video on it. Whoopsie doos, that's not what I wanted. Oh, is it in here maybe? Yeah, that's what it was. Project X. It's called Project X. If I were you and I was watching this, I would very much suggest not looking this truck up. It's just that ugly. I really don't like this. I don't think anyone liked this. Whoever decided to make this clearly had no clue what they were doing. It's just gross. Absolutely nasty. Favorite indie tour? It depends what I'm looking at. If we're talking small arenas, like small, very small, tight, cramped shows, Monster Truck Wars. If we're talking bigger kind of domes, like what you would expect to see in like Reno, I'd probably say the toughest monster truck tour. If we're talking general scale outdoors, I'd say the All-Star Monster Truck Tour. And if we're saying a big outdoor venue, I'd say Monster Truck Throwdown. Those are my 4 big indie tours. Monster Truck Wars, I think, it's definitely not the best. But if you're in a small arena, it's probably going to have the best capabilities to give you a great show. I feel like toughest monster truck tour, though, still drives a hard bargain in that category. Bring back a truck. That's tough. I don't know. There's a lot of good trucks that are retired. I really liked Dragon Ice, if that counts. It's a truck that's retired, but also Team Hot Wheels Firestorm had some awesome designs. So I'd also just as much want to say Team Hot Wheels Firestorm. And I think on that note, it's time to wrap up the stream. It's getting a bit late, and it's very true because we're starting to see people departing. So I am going to end this out. Thank you guys so much for those of you who came out here, and especially those of you who stuck around for the stream. Obviously, it's been a while since I did one of these, so I was not 100% on the the results, calling everyone by the wrong name. But it was a good return episode. So I hope to see you guys next Wednesday when we talk about Syracuse, and the Wednesday after that we're going to talk about my hometown show, if I do an episode that week and don't get lazy and decide that I'm too tired just because I can. So yeah, I'll see you guys next time, whether that be next Wednesday or this Saturday. I'm not too sure at the moment, but we'll find out eventually. So thank you guys for coming out here, and I'll see you guys next time.